It's just taking. All right,
Yeah.
welcome back to another episode of Casual Conversations in Cybersecurity. We're really excited this week to host Munish Mehta with Neo Cyber and talk a little bit about cyber insurance for individuals. Munish, why don't you go ahead and just share a little bit about yourself and your company, and we'll go from there.
Well, thank you, ladies, for having me on this casual conversation. Happy to be here. My name is Munish Mehta, and I'm the founder and CEO of Neo Cyber Insurance. We're building out a platform to basically protect individuals from personal cyber attacks. People are used to hearing life insurance, motor insurance, home insurance, but now imagine you can also obtain personal cyber insurance.
Great.
Oh,
How did that come about for you?
So I've been always wanting to focus on a very niche product and a niche risk. Risk has always fascinated me in terms of getting it quantified, getting it paid, mitigating that risk. And then when you look at on an individual level, I think that makes it a lot more exciting and fun. So knowing where do I want to be in the next 10 years is definitely in the cyber world.
And so it was a transition for you.
Correct. So I've been in corporate insurance for 12, 13 years for very long. I've done structuring for Fortune 500 companies, but now looking at individuals, it's a different side of the spectrum, but it's at least it's insurance still.
So you know insurance. Now you're learning cyber, basically.
Yes, yes, I know insurance on the corporate side, on the business side, but just learning it on an individual's level.
what kind of brought you over into the cyber world?
I think trying to see what I want to be in the next,
Okay.
5, 10 years. Yeah. Looking at cyber risk was like, it's not a household name yet, but I think it will become a household name. So it's like, okay, where do
Yeah.
you want to, what horse do you want to bet on? And cyber risk is the horse that I'm betting the money on.
It's kind of sad, actually, but I mean, it says a lot about the state of our world, I guess, or where we're going in terms of like um, things that we will be that are risks, and that's an increasing risk for sure. And a lot of companies have been doing cyber insurance for several years. Um, when you envisioned like this, what made you focus on individuals as opposed to companies?
Um, I think it was probably had to do with, look, the market is the world population, right? If you think about it, it's not just a specific business, it's not a specific industry, it's an individual. And if you say that, okay, fine, wow, the whole world is my oyster, then that's what something that you would want to spend your next 10 years on. Um, and it's changing. I think work from home elevated the risk, so it gave me a bit more confidence to say that, okay, fine, it's not something that's going to be going away. And the stress level that gets caused to individuals is, I think, substantially more than a business taking any
Mm,
sort of financial loss. um,
right.
Yeah,
be it from a
definitely.
bullying perspective, be it from, oh my god, I'm getting hacked and somebody's trying to blackmail me. So you're not just doing this from a monetary element, you're also actually helping individuals release the stress that they would be, them and their family also, that they would be
Right.
Right.
bearing.
So, how do you relieve that stress? What does the cyber insurance cover for individuals?
So I think it's just like any other insurance product where you basically pay a premium to get a limit of indemnity, right? So you get a coverage. So in terms of a personal cyber insurance, I think the way it's been designed, not just for our clients, but even globally, it has to be a single digit or double digit low premium, because you want a easy buy-in. You don't want someone to
Right.
think that, oh, I have to spend $100 a month just for this.
Hmm.
And then once you are able to say, okay, fine, I'm willing to spend $5 a month to get personal cyber insurance, then there's a host of sort of coverage, right? Pearls, as we call it in the insurance world, that get covered. So identity theft, if there is malware onto your device, cyberbullying, ransomware, liability, social liability, money being siphoned off your credit card, your bank account, e-wallet. So there's a host of features that come into the personal protection.
Okay.
Now, when you mentioned cyberbullying, I think a lot of people, they understand cyber insurance in terms of obviously like okay, ransom and things like this, um, or trying to recover assets. But cyberbullying, how does that factor in, and what does that look like? Also from an insurance perspective, so the problem itself, and how are you solving it?
Sure. So it's a very good question because I get asked this a lot of times by the end user. So one thing we have to understand is, what the customer feels or thinks their expectation is when they're buying an insurance product, and they're used to a lot of the insurance products being out there in the physical world.
Mm-hmm.
However, now if let's just take an example, and I will come down to cyberbullying, but if we were to take another example of your Facebook account getting hacked or your Instagram account getting hacked, and you have photos worth of 10 years from various parts of the world that you've traveled to, maybe Texas, and you say, okay, fine, my account has been hacked. Therefore, are you now going to reimburse my trip that I did 3 years ago to,
Right.
in,
So I
in,
can
in
recreate my
Texas?
photos.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
So,
Wow.
yeah, so that's not the case, right? Insurance is
Obviously.
not going to, pay for that. What they will try to do in terms of the assistance is to try to restore the account to its original position. Now, if we move to cyberbullying specifically, if you entail as an adult, which could be at the workplace or which could be even just off work, or your children experience it, what the product does is it pays for counseling services. Because what we've noticed is
Okay.
that individuals do get traumatized by cyberbullying. And the only
Yeah.
way to best relieve that and to bring the individual sort of, help them out is to have them go to a counselor. And that counselor fee will then be paid for by the insurance company.
Now, I guess I'm looking at this from also a business perspective, is because I think that's really wonderful. I mean, we've heard all the horrible stories, people being, children being cyberbullied into suicide, and I mean, that's worst case scenario, but it's really awful, and you can really suffer from it. But how do you make sure that's I mean, what it would be the, I guess, the threshold or the proof that would be needed for it to be covered by insurance? Would you just need screenshots? You need, I mean,
So because it is a sort of a digital claim, right?
mhm.
Screenshots is one element that the insurance companies have to find. Please provide us the relevant evidence, and or at the same time, they have experts that can sort of investigate in the background to say, oh, who were you being bullied by, and
Hmm.
picking up on that profile to see that is this person openly, publicly demoralizing individuals and bullying them, um,
Hmm.
or is it being done in a very school closed network that they're
Mhm.
bullying? Because then you can obviously refer to teachers as well and other student peers. So
Right.
there's a host of evidence that you can provide, and the experts can also just find out on their own.
That's really interesting. Then when your example of you know losing your photos and things like that, so the insurance company then has, I guess, um, a team or a team on call, or someone that they can reach out to, who like technical support that helps as well.
Yeah,
Correct.
so I apologize, I didn't mention this earlier, but the product also comes with a 24/7, hotline, right, and assistance, where you can
Okay.
call in and say, "Hey, my LinkedIn account has been hacked," or "I think money has been taken from my bank account." Uh,
Mm-hmm.
you basically provide them as much information as possible, and in the cyber world, they do this triage and then investigation, and then come back to you to say, "Okay, fine, we might need a little bit more pieces of information, or we might even need access to your device." Because they'll go in a little bit further to investigate where the source of that attack was. So there is a team of experts that are doing this day in day out, assisting individuals.
All right. No, it's really interesting, and we don't usually have people on to like talk all about their company, but I think it's really interesting because
Right.
it is new. Like, I don't currently have
Right. It's
cyber
very
insurance,
unknown.
so
Yeah.
I'm asking you not in this like please hawk your wares thing. I'm like literally asking you
Right.
like as an interested individual, so I just want to make that clear because we usually, we don't usually go this route, but I'm very interested. And then, so my next question is, so to understand, so if you have that support, right? So that's part of your thing. And then ideally you're able to resolve that and then you don't even need to make a claim, correct? I mean, is that the...
So sometimes I think what it comes down to is to the individual, which do they value more? Is it the financial sort of compensation, or is it the non-financial service that they get? So if money has been taken out of your bank account, right, you want that money back.
Right. That clearly falls under an insurance claim. Yeah.
Right. No service is gonna, replace your hard-earned money. However, when there's no financial loss, you can't just go to your local computer store and say, "Hey, could you please help me out?" Or you can't just call the local authorities and say, "Hey, my account has been hacked." Or even the other example is you clicked on a link and you received malware. Now you will have to take it down to your local computer shop, or maybe to your friends who might be in IT, and say, "Hey, could you remove this for me?" That is stressful. However, if you know there's a phone number and you say, "Okay, fine, this is a situation. I think I have malware on my device. Could you please remove it and replace the data and the content?" Just sort of, releases that stress and puts it on someone else's shoulder, the experts basically.
Yeah.
And that itself is very valuable to an individual.
Extremely. Yeah. I mean, I'm over here, working remote from home, and I do stress out going, what if what would I do? Who would I talk to? Other reaching out to my wonderful connections on LinkedIn, say, please help me and guide me. It's not something that I would think of to just, find a resource, that can really help. And knowing that there's scams out there on, if you do a Google search trying to find, there are scams even, in the search results trying to pretend to be that your IT
take advantage of you. Yeah.
So if I knew I had a direct line to call, that would relieve a lot of, my own personal mental stress.
I think this is really important because, I had an incident recently. I think I told you a little bit about it, where I thought I lost my phone, and I did temporarily. And I had, thankfully, everything in place I needed, that nobody could get in it. And that was probably a big helper. So are there the actions you can do or not do? It's probably more like things that you didn't do that would exclude you from coverage. So if, when I left my phone on the top of the car and drove off, but I had, my PIN code was 000. You know who you are, by the way. I'm talking to someone directly right now. Would I be covered for, when I was kind of an idiot, in many ways?
So just like any other insurance policy, you have to do your duty of just being aware. You buy car insurance, but you don't leave the windows open and the keys in the engine, right? When you car insurance, right? When you buy life insurance, for a fact that extreme sports might be excluded, or
right.
I don't know,
skydiving.
Right. So when it comes to the personal cyber insurance, I think the insurance industry is fully aware that there's a huge learning curve in this first year, 2 years, even 3 years, right? For people to dissect and understand what is actual personal cyber insurance. And if within that you were to put in heavy rules and boundaries and exclusions, which will put off people in the future from having a good experience of a personal cyber insurance policy, then that would sort of defeat the whole purpose of making the world a safer place. So they're aware of what a layman knows and what a layman doesn't know. But from time to time, I think it also comes down to self-awareness that, hey, has your Microsoft software been updated in the past 3 months, past one, forget 1 month, right? We understand how we know human behavior. Sometimes, it's like on an average, it takes 4 months for people to update their software, but we'll take 8 months. We'll maybe even take 12 months in this scenario. But if your software hasn't been updated for 2 years and on a daily basis, you're hearing news of these sort of situations, there could be that element to say, well, you didn't take enough duty care um,
Mhm.
Right.
on your part, and we there could be that sort of a denial in claim. Other than that, I think it's just ensuring that you're aware of your cyber hygiene, as what I like
Mhm.
to call
Right.
it. So making sure your passwords are strong enough. You have multi-factor authentication. If you're a heavy user, you don't have MFA, then that's sort of your fault. Look, at the end of the day, insurance company is not a non-for-profit, right? They have to make money.
Right.
That's a whole different conversation. But for people to say that, okay, fine, I'm paying this and I am entitled to something, is a bit of a risk in itself.
Right.
So I
So
have a
I think,
question then
sorry.
to
Go
that.
on.
Now to what you were saying though. Both at the insurance industry at the moment understands the regular person still hasn't caught up yet with all the proper cyber hygiene that we need just as a baseline. Um, I was learning before this call that like the enterprise insurance, they like provide what they call pre-breach services, right, which includes like cyber awareness training. Is that the
Hmm.
part of kind of also what like they do for individuals as well, offering some sort of either guidelines, best practices, please make sure you do ABC, or or even to pay them to do a short, I don't know, course or whatever
Quiz,
there might be out there.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there
It's
something
not a
to help them
process at the
establish that baseline?
it's not part of the process yet, but I think it's gonna get there, because again, going back to, you have a car, and you buy car insurance, you still need sometimes every year, 2 years, that driving lesson. um, so within the cyber world, I think having that awareness on an individual personal level is going to become soon, a condition, a prerequisite
Right.
to any
Well,
personal cyber insurance
think of
policy. At the
it.
moment, it's open though. At the moment, it's like, look,
Yeah.
we're accepting it all because we understand the situation.
So I would say that was one of my questions. One is the threshold eventually going to go up, and then the second part is I really like your car analogy. Actually, when you think about it, like at least in the United States, I know, if you go, not just because you got a ticket, but you go and take that defensive driving course, right? They'll usually like lower your insurance a little bit because you've taken the time to inform yourself how to be safer. Like, I wonder if that kind of model will come into oh yeah, sorry. If that kind of model will come into, the
On an
insurance where there'll
individual
be
level.
right, because it kind of makes sense, right?
So it's a very tricky balance, because it's already being done on an enterprise level, right? Compliance departments, IT departments throughout the world are sending out these uh, training awareness videos, training awareness, these quizzes, to say,
Hmm.
look, from a cyber hygiene, from a business cyber hygiene perspective, we need you to do this. Until you don't do this, your bonus won't get released or whatever, right?
Yeah,
But on an individual level, it is still a human right, an individual right, that you are sort of paying and taking. So until and unless we don't reach a threshold by sort of the insurers to say, look, we need to make this in a prerequisite, I think it's still going to be relatively open and easy to obtain personal
right.
cyber insurance.
Mhm.
No, it's in terms of also, I think I'm thinking like just the other day I was doing the Dr. Google thing, right? And Googling symptoms. And the best resource I found was on the Aetna website, right? Now they're insurance, but they are educating me about these
Mm.
symptoms and when to go to the hospital and when I'm not dying of AIDS or whatever. Um, Dr. Google's pretty scary, but so they're actually, though they're an insurance company, they're a great source of knowledge. And it sounds like,
Mhm.
that's something, in your mission to help as individuals, you've educated yourself and you can educate, us as well. And as part of this process, I think actually, insurance doesn't have to be a bad thing, a bad name. You know what I mean? You can also be a real helper in the cyber like mission, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. And insurance companies globally are realizing that, look, it's much much more efficient or better for the world to be safer, healthier, than to just keep paying claims out. Because at the
Right.
end of the day, we all know that it's the end user, it's the consumer that's going to end up paying more and more and more because of the claim amounts is
Yeah.
increasing
Right.
And
year
the
after year.
insurance goes up.
However, if
Yeah.
you're having that facility of educating yourself to say, okay, fine, for this sort of treatment or this sort of a health concern, I can do this as an alternative, or you know fix it at a much earlier stage. It's just it's better for everyone.
Right. So we had a kind of a comment here. Greetings. Cyber insurance for individuals who are public figures that make great targets would definitely be likely customers for a small premium per month. Maybe a good bolt on to, oh, yeah, I think we talked about that actually on our call before. Maybe a good bolt on to mobile phone insurance policies when selling you a new smart device. That's a good business model right there. But, are you going after both public figures as well, or is there like do do Instagrammers need their own insurance that's bigger than what you're
Yeah.
providing?
I think when you are on a digital presence to make money, then you are technically considered a business.
Mm,
Uh,
Okay.
on an individual level, we're not commenting on LinkedIn to make money, or we're not, liking something on Facebook to make money per se. On an individual level, we have our friends network and we have our community, but are we making money off of it? If that's the case, then you would be technically considered as a business. But otherwise, you're more
Okay.
of an individual. And with regards to the business model, I think it has to come down to it's around embedding is what the person is saying, that you can embed it into a mobile phone or at a time of
hmm,
purchase of a mobile phone, because it's just easier, right? It's just like
right,
Like an
everyone
add-on
else that, hey,
package. Yeah.
yeah,
right.
hey, buy this in your next transaction, and within the next 3 minutes you'll get a free set of Gensu knives as well.
Yes.
I
I
mean,
feel like we,
it's been happening
yeah,
what, since ages, right? In the infomercials where they sort of
yeah.
stick on an additional benefit, and then there's a
Call
time
now and
limit.
you get two.
Hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, you even get that too when you just go to buy your phone, right? You get that little bit of insurance just for the physical phone, right? For dropping it in the toilet or whatnot. But um, but yeah, I think that whole idea again in the consciousness of the regular user, we've yet to make that leap and connection, right? It's part of the whole educating the general user of just we have to now take this as part of life skills and part of the risks and understand that there are risks and then you probably also it's so much of a risk that yeah probably do need some sort of
No,
insurance, not for the if but when kind of scenario.
it's interesting. I
Sadly.
wonder, like, for example, right? You go to, back in the old days when I lived in Texas, like, and, I'd
Radio
go
Shack.
Radio Shack, Fort Worth, man. All right. Anyway,
I thought that's what you were gonna say, like
we're
when I went to
showing our
Radio Shack.
age here,
Oh yeah.
y'all. Radio
No,
Shack.
no.
No, so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go get me a new laptop. I would just go to Best Buy. I know I want a Toshiba satellite. I was like for years Toshiba satellite, nothing else. I just go pick up the box. I take it to the register. Always part of the deal. They'd be like, Norton's already on there. That was always like, part of the package deal. So that was one security thing. Then I get to the register and they want to sell me insurance, like if it breaks, right? And I'm wondering if any of that they're trying to sell you at that register is also going to cover, it now or in the future, something like personal cyber insurance. And if not, again, just something maybe we need like someone needs to take that idea and run with that. If not, if that's not already happening, um, because people are just now becoming aware, and I think they're becoming aware enough that if presented with the idea of protecting themselves for a little money, I think it would be a big you know sell. If I'm going to protect from my laptop against the hard drive, then what about the actual, like, what about the cybersecurity aspect of it, right?
And
That's
I'm
just me
sorry, but
thinking out
that
loud.
and
Like,
that 1-800 number, it really for me is like the the big selling point of just saying having that peace of mind to know, oh, I do have someone I can go to directly that, will help me sort this out and figure it out and know if I need to panic or not panic, and then what are the steps to do, you know,
Yeah. It's
in case.
really,
It's like I said, right? It's going to be a household name. Personal cyber insurance.
it's just going to be a thing, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to sit at the family dinner table. I got
Yes.
hacked, or this happened, and you
Hopefully
talk
not.
about who did you buy your personal cyber insurance from? I was just reading the other day where on an average, the average U.S. household has 40 connected devices in their house. So that obviously means
Wow.
IoT as well, and phones
Right.
and laptops. So you can just imagine 40.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
quite high, and because it's digital, we just can't feel it. We just can't touch it until a situation arises. So that's where the
Right.
challenge is for everyone to accept this product on the first pitch or the first get go. Otherwise, I think
Mm-hmm.
embedding is going to be the key to educating everyone to say, oh, okay, I have this protection. Oh, okay, my friend just got hacked last week, so now I'm actually protected.
Yeah. No,
Hmm.
I had like when I worked at Capital One. Speaking of breaches, so when I worked at Capital One, they had all these features, right, that you could use on your card. There were like things that Mastercard provided, right? And you don't think about them. You could go. I went years without thinking about it, and then one day in a pickle, it occurred to me, maybe, maybe like they'll cover my canceled flight, and it did, and I didn't even know, but they put it there. And then once I actually utilized that service that was, embedded, forced upon me, if you will, even, I really appreciated like Capital One and Mastercard and everyone, more than I had cynically before. And I think these things are value, and their value. Companies should be wanting to add your product into their service, into what they're offering. Your product, or it's wherever country they're in, the most relevant thing. I think it's a I don't know. You've sold me. That's all I gotta say. Like,
Well,
and you didn't mean
what's
to.
great what's great in the startup world though is you actually have companies and startups that are educating consumers of what their rights and their benefits are
Mm-hmm.
of, let's just say, their credit cards. Because credit cards have become such that you do obviously live off of them, but you don't fully utilize all of the
The
benefits in
power, yeah.
terms of, yeah, the power, exactly. But there are now companies that are educating uh, the consumer. So yeah, this could be tied into your credit card.
Right. It's endless, and unfortunately, as things continue to innovate, the number of opportunities to attack us on
Will
40
also keep
40
innovating.
will become 50, will become 60
Mm,
devices. The more interconnected they are, for better or for worse, the higher our risk goes.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, every new innovation, the first people to think to really think on it are going to be criminals. I mean, they hear about a connected car, and if they got that mindset, they're already there way before you are, like, and thinking what could happen. And they're thinking, what can I do, right? So it's just going to become more and more important. I think it's really
true.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great
Yeah.
thing it's gotten into here.
Yeah. No, this is really, really interesting and fascinating, and definitely I can see the need. Thank you so much. We're right about time. Thank you so much, Manish. Where can people find you? In order to just connect with you.
Sure. So I mean, LinkedIn is the best way. But
Okay.
in case they want to just check out the product and just educate themselves, they can go to neocyberinsurance.com. Currently, we're
Okay.
only selling in Dubai, UAE, but you never know. In the future, we might be in your household conversation.
All right.
Hopefully, very
All right. Well,
good.
thank you so much. Okay. Take care.
Thank you, ladies. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.